Don't move. It can't see us if we don't move. Jenna woke up choking on fur, not a blanket, not clothing. Actual fur, soft, damp, and tangled around her face and neck. Her body was buried in it. Matted patches of hair clung to her arms. Her legs. She kicked instinctively, and her foot struck something that let out a soft, wet squelch. The stench hit her next. A thick, rotting mixture of mold, iron, and something far worse, a sweet metallic scent that stuck to her throat like syrup. She gasped, flailing, but a hand slapped over her mouth from the side. "Don't move," a voice hissed inches from her ear. "It can't see us if we don't move." Her eyes shot open in the dark. She couldn't see a damn thing. The air was cold and wet. Something above her dripped steadily, water, or maybe blood, falling onto the fur-covered floor. "Who are you?" she tried to say, but the man's hand pressed harder against her mouth. "I said don't move," he whispered again, shaking. "It listens. That's how it hunts." Her skin crawled. She forced herself to stop moving. Her breath came in short, sharp bursts through her nose, and the man slowly removed his hand. "I don't know how long I've been here," he whispered. 3 nights. 4. Maybe more. I sleep, I wake up, and it's still dark, still warm, still breathing. "What?" Jenna whispered. He turned his head toward her slightly. "This place, it's alive." She wanted to laugh, scream, anything to cut through the growing sense of claustrophobic panic, but she couldn't. She remembered driving, her friend Lily's cabin, the woods, bad signal. She'd taken a wrong turn. The road had narrowed. The trees pressed in. Then headlights had caught something crossing the road, a figure. She'd swerved. The airbag had gone off. And after that, nothing. Jenna's fingers clenched. No phone, no bag, no shoes, just fur. And the faint sound of something breathing, slow and heavy, from above them. Then came the knock. Knock, knock. Jenna froze. The knock didn't come from a door. It came from beneath them. The man stiffened beside her. "Don't answer it," he whispered. "What do you mean? Knock, knock." The sound was more insistent this time. It wasn't even wood they were lying on. It didn't feel right. It was soft, warm, with just the slightest give, like stretched leather over muscle. The knock was followed by something worse. A voice. A little girl's voice. Sweet and too familiar. "Are you still awake, Jenna?" Jenna's blood ran cold. The man turned slowly to look at her. "It knows your name." Her lungs felt too tight. That voice, it sounded like... No, it couldn't be. That was impossible. "You left me there. You promised you'd wait." "No," Jenna whispered. "That's not real. It wants to be real," the man said. "Don't talk to it." But the voice was already changing, from innocent to accusatory. "You didn't even try to pull me out. You just watched me sink." Jenna curled in on herself. Her fingernails dug into her palms. "That's not what happened. That's not what happened." She wanted to deny it, but the sound of water, bubbling, churning, filled her ears. Then came the splash and the gurgling scream. She whimpered. The man beside her started crying softly. "It gets in your head," he muttered. "Finds what you hate about yourself, then it wears it like a skin." Jenna clenched her teeth, forcing herself to block the sound. She turned her thoughts to escape, to logic. But logic couldn't explain where she was, how the floor pulsed like it had a heartbeat, how the air seemed to move without wind, how the walls weren't walls at all, but something flesh-like and wet. Suddenly, something brushed her ankle. Not a person, something else. The man grabbed her arm. "Don't run. It wants you to." She turned slowly, her eyes now adjusting to the faint red light oozing from a corner of the room. Just enough to see shapes. Not furniture, no bed, no shelves, but bones. Rib cages arranged like chairs, a wall stitched together with spines. And above them, a ceiling made of what looked like stretched human skin, quivering slightly with every breath the place took. Jenna's stomach lurched. She clutched at her pocket. Her fingers closed on something small, a disposable camera. Why would she have that? She lifted it with trembling hands. Snap! The flash fired, bright and brutal. The man screamed, and Jenna did too, because in that half-second, the room lit up in impossible detail, and what she saw would burn itself into her mind forever. The walls weren't just made of bones. They were alive. Muscles pulsed between spinal columns. Veins ran through the ceiling like worms. Every inch of the room was part of a giant breathing organism, and they were inside it. The floor was a massive tongue twitching, the fur, hair, covering the body of something ancient and awake, and worse, dozens of faces were embedded in the wall, screaming silently. One of them was her sister. She dropped the camera, gagging. The man fell to his knees, weeping. "You shouldn't have done that. The light, it doesn't like the light." Something roared through the walls, a low, furious moan that seemed to come from the air itself. "Run!" Jenna screamed, and this time he didn't stop her. They scrambled toward the far wall where a slit had opened. Not a door, a wound. Inside it, rows of jagged teeth, long and curved, flesh peeled back like lips, trembling as if anticipating the taste of blood. She stopped, staring. "Do we go through?" the man asked. A voice answered. For them, her sister's voice, soft, cruel. "You have to come in. You made your choice. Now finish it." "No," Jenna gasped. "That's not real. She drowned. She's dead." The man turned to her, his eyes glassy. "Dead doesn't mean gone. Not here. Here, things stay." The slit widened. Something moved inside it. A shape, crawling, too many limbs, no face, trailing what looked like veins or umbilical cords behind it. Jenna backed away, but the room behind them was closing. The fur turned black. The bone furniture collapsed into itself, twisting. The breathing stopped, replaced by a sickening rhythmic gulping. "It's feeding," the man whispered. Then the wall screamed, not metaphorically, literally. Dozens of mouths opened in the flesh, wailing in agony, some with eyes, others stitched shut. One locked its jaw around Jenna's leg, human teeth, no tongue, biting down just enough to bruise. She kicked it off, sobbing. "What does it want from me?" she screamed. The man turned slowly, and he wasn't crying anymore. He smiled. "You," he said. Jenna's world tilted. She stumbled back, her eyes wide. He stepped toward her. "It chose you, same way it chose the others, but you're different." "What are you talking about?" He reached into his jacket and pulled out something slick and pulsing. A strip of bloody film from the camera. "See," he whispered, holding it up. "It's all memories. That's what it eats. Not meat, not souls. Just regret, just pain." She stared at the photo slowly developing on the strip. It was her. Not now. But then, the moment her sister went under the lake, Jenna standing there frozen, doing nothing. "You let her die," the man whispered. "And you never told anyone, never even said sorry." "No, you ran, covered it up, said she slipped. But you watched. That was your sin. That's why you're here." "No!" she shouted, fists clenched, but the room vibrated with pleasure, as if it was feeding off her shame. "You don't get to leave," the man said, his voice warping. "Not until it's full." Jenna looked around, breath ragged. Then she heard it again, the soft, childish whisper. "You're next, Jenna. It doesn't eat you, it makes you eat yourself." Jenna screamed until her voice broke, but the room swallowed the sound. The man who'd pretended to help her, the one who had warned her not to move, not to speak, not to run, was smiling now. And as the red light from the pulsing walls deepened, Jenna saw what she hadn't before. He had no eyes, just skin grown smooth over where they should have been, like his body had sealed itself shut in protest of whatever he'd seen too long. "It doesn't eat you," he said again, stepping closer. "It makes you eat yourself, until nothing's left but guilt." Jenna backed into the fleshy wall, which writhed at her touch. Behind her, the scream mouths opened again, moaning softly, as if mourning her. "No," she gasped. I'm not staying here. I'm not—" He lunged. She ducked, swinging the broken camera in her hand with all her strength. It connected. With a sickening crack, his mouth split open far too wide, smiling even as blood spilled from it. He fell to his knees, laughing. "You already belong to it." She ran. The corridor that opened wasn't built from stone or wood. It was a throat, wet and tight, walls that pulsed and flexed as she pushed her way through them, sliding on what felt like mucus and half-digested fabric. Shoes, shirts, bracelets, all left behind by others who came before. She didn't stop. Not until she burst into a new chamber, larger but no less horrifying, and she wasn't alone. There were 5 others inside, or what was left of them. They turned to face her slowly, in unison. One of them, a tall woman with a hospital wristband, whispered, "You still remember your name?" Jenna blinked. "Yes." The others exchanged looks. One, a teenage boy, covered in bruises, looked almost surprised. "You're not too far gone then," he said. "What is this place?" Jenna asked. An older man, gaunt and hollow-eyed, replied softly, "It's a stomach, not just flesh, a memory, a prison, a god." They were gathered around something glowing, not fire, but what looked like a tangle of nerves suspended in a gelatinous sack, pulsing. "It keeps us in," said the woman, "feeds off what we carry." "The regrets," Jenna whispered. They nodded. The boy said, "I thought it was hell at first. I slit my wrists on the 3rd day, but I didn't. Die. Nothing dies here. You just remember dying, over and over. Can we get out?" She asked, desperate. Silence, until the old man finally said, "One of us escaped, a woman, said she faced what it showed her, accepted it, and the room let her go." "But that's a lie," the boy muttered. "She didn't escape. She just forgot she was here." Jenna's stomach twisted. "What does that mean?" "It doesn't want death," the woman said. "It wants your truth, the thing you buried, the part of you that's already dead. That's the offering." Suddenly the floor vibrated. All of them froze. A low rumble filled the chamber. The light inside the nerve sac dimmed. Then the boy screamed. A hand, thin and bone-white, burst up from the floor beneath him, grabbing his ankle and yanking. Vanished in seconds, swallowed by the floor. His scream echoed long after he was gone. The rest scattered, Jenna tripping over the wet organic floor, sliding into a tunnel as the chamber behind her convulsed and collapsed. The walls of this new tunnel were different, quieter, colder, lined with photographs, thousands of them, some curled and faded, others still wet with developing fluid, all pinned to the walls with jagged bone, or stitched into the flesh itself. Jenna got to her feet slowly. She recognized the first photo. It was her, age 6, smiling with her sister outside their childhood. Home. She touched it. The wall trembled beneath. She walked further. The photos followed her life, her teen years, the fights with her mum, the night her father never came home from the hospital. Her sister's face appeared more often, growing sadder with each frame, and then came the final picture. The lake, her sister in the water, reaching out, and Jenna, frozen on the dock, just watching. Her knees buckled. She fell against the wall, sobbing. "I tried. I was scared. I didn't know what to do." The photo blinked. Her sister opened her mouth and whispered, "Liar." Jenna ran. The corridor twisted. The photos turned to video, flickering moments projected onto the walls. Her sister coughing water, her mother crying, her own face lying to police. And then, something new, something wrong. A projection of Jenna, not memory, but a version of her, stood over her sister's bed, older, colder, whispering something into her ear. "I wished it was you," the projection said. "Not me, not ever me." "No," Jenna whispered, backing away. The projection turned, smiling. "You hated her. That's not true. You were glad when she drowned. No, you let her drown. Stop." The walls answered. The scream mouths reappeared, moaning. Blood poured from the seams between photographs. And then The corridor began to collapse. Jenna turned and ran, choking on blood and darkness, until she hit open air again. Another chamber. But this one was empty. Just a single mirror in the center, and written across the glass, in blood, "Say it, or stay forever." She approached slowly, her breath hitching. Her reflection was wrong, eyes hollow, lips curled in guilt. She touched the glass. "I was scared," she whispered. "Nothing." I froze. Still nothing. I didn't mean to let her drown. The reflection's eyes narrowed. Lies, she trembled. Then, for the first time, she told the truth. I hated being the older one. I hated that she was perfect. I didn't mean to let her drown, but I didn't stop her either. The mirror cracked. I wanted to save her. I did. But some part of me, the worst part, wanted to know what it felt like not to be the one always protecting someone else. The mirror shattered. A howl split the air. Not pain, but release. The chamber around her began to disintegrate, peeling back like dried skin. Light poured in. Real light. Trees. The sky. Wind. Jenna stumbled forward, only to find herself back on the road, alone, covered in blood, barefoot, trembling. The forest was silent. Her car, wrecked, was still steaming. Nearby, and in her hand had the camera, still undeveloped. She turned. The forest was normal. No monstrous throat, no scream walls, just trees. Had she hallucinated? She staggered to her car and popped the trunk, looking for her bag. The phone was there. Dead battery, but there was something else. A photo, fresh, of her, standing on the dock, watching her sister drown. But this time, she wasn't just watching. She was smiling. You brought it with you. The photo slipped from Jenna's fingers and landed face up on the pavement. She didn't pick it up, couldn't, because it was still there, the image of her, that twisted smile carved across her face, watching her sister disappear beneath the lake's surface. And that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was, she remembered it now, not a dream, not a hallucination, a moment, a flicker of cruelty that had always lived inside her, buried beneath guilt and grief and denial, now clawed to the surface. Jenna stumbled backward from the trunk of her wrecked car, breathing hard, clutching the sides of her head like she could squeeze the memory out. "No," she whispered. "It's lying to me. That place, that thing. It feeds off guilt. It wants me to believe this." But even as she said it, she knew better. That version of her in the mirror, the one who told her to say it or stay forever, that had been her. And the moment she told the truth, the nightmare ended, didn't it? She glanced around the forest, too quiet. Still no birdsong, no breeze, no rustling leaves, like the world was watching her, like she'd left something behind, or worse, brought something back. She looked at the camera in her hand. The one from that thing's lair. It was smeared with blood, but intact. Old, early 2000s maybe. Definitely not hers. She didn't remember picking it up. In fact, she remembered throwing it when she hit that eyeless man in the tunnel. So, why was it back in her hand? Jenna turned it over. There was a roll of film inside, still unexposed, her breath caught. She needed help. Back in town, the people didn't look quite right. The gas station clerk stared too long. A kid on a bike pedaled in slow circles near her car, never blinking. A woman outside the grocery store laughed and laughed, but her eyes stayed dead. It could have been paranoia. She'd been through hell. Maybe her mind was cracked, still, reeling. But in the corner of every reflective surface, car mirrors, glass doors, the gleam of polished tile, she saw herself, standing still. Not mimicking her movements, just watching and smiling. At home, Jenna shut the curtains and locked every door. She plugged in her phone, hands shaking, and finally called someone she hadn't spoken to in almost a year. Lauren, her ex-girlfriend. Lauren was a nurse, practical to a fault, always calm in crisis. She'd also known Jenna's sister, had been there for her when the grief became unbearable. Lauren picked up on the first ring. "Jesus," she breathed. "You're alive," Jenna blinked. "What do you mean?" "I saw your car on that road. It was still there yesterday. Cops said no one was found. It's been 3 days, Jenna." Her mouth went dry. 3 days? No, she'd only just... She glanced at the mirror on the wall. Her reflection wasn't there. "Lauren," she whispered, "I think something followed me back." Lauren came over an hour later. She hugged Jenna, hesitant, careful, and then pulled back with a frown. "You're freezing," she said, "and your house smells like formaldehyde." Jenna hadn't noticed, but now that she mentioned it, the air did feel wrong. She showed her the photo, the one from the trunk. Lauren paled. "Jenna, this isn't just guilt," she said quietly. "Something did this to you." Jenna told her everything. The flesh walls, the scream mouths, the man with no eyes, the photos stitched into living corridors, the mirror that demanded confession. When she finished, Lauren didn't laugh, didn't even blink. She just nodded, slowly. "I've heard of something like this," she said. "When I worked the psych ward 2 years ago, there was a woman, silent for weeks, never spoke. One night she screamed and said, 'It's wearing my face.' She said she came back from somewhere she wasn't supposed to escape." "What happened to her?" Jenna asked. "She died that night. They said she clawed her own throat open in her sleep." Jenna swallowed. "I didn't sleep there," she said. "I didn't even dream. That place was alive." Lauren looked at the camera. "We should get that film developed." They drove to a little shop 2 towns over, one of the few that still processed film in-house. The man behind the counter, older, with thick glasses, took one look at the camera and froze. "Where'd you find this?" he asked, voice. "Vlad, why?" Jenna asked, heart racing. "Because I developed photos from this exact model over 20 years ago. Belonged to a local girl. Disappeared at Lake Worth in 2004. They found this camera near the shore. Same serial number." Jenna and Lauren exchanged a glance. "Can you still develop it?" The man hesitated, then nodded. "Come back in an hour." They waited at a diner nearby. Jenna couldn't eat. Everything tasted like ash. Lauren kept glancing at her like she was afraid she'd vanish. When they returned, the man looked rattled, sweating, pale. "There's something wrong with the negatives," he said. "Like they're still developing or moving." He handed them the photos, printed but slightly blurry, as if they refused to stay still. Jenna flipped through them and nearly dropped them. The first few were of the tunnel, the flesh, and corridors, the scream mouths, real, not hallucinated. Then the chamber with the glowing nerve sac, the boy screaming as a hand dragged him down. Then the mirror, and Jenna's face reflected in it, but not her face. It was grinning, but behind it, almost hidden in the shadows, was something else. A shape, towering, boneless, made of memory and muscle, wearing hundreds of human faces like jewelry, and one of them was. Jenna's scream echoed through the shop. She backed away from the photos like they were burning her. Lauren stared, pale and silent. "That's not real," Jenna gasped. "You're alive. But Lauren didn't respond. She was looking at her reflection in the shop's front window. Jenna followed her gaze and saw what Lauren saw. Her reflection wasn't hers anymore. It was hollow-eyed, blood at the corners of its mouth, and it was mouthing something. "Say it or stay forever." They fled. Back at Jenna's house, the walls seemed to pulse with breath. The lights flickered, doors slammed on their own. Lauren curled up on the couch, silent. Jenna paced. "We didn't escape," she whispered. "That place, that thing, it's still here. In us. In me." She looked at Lauren. "Why was your face in that photo?" Lauren finally spoke, voice distant. "I went to the lake 2 years ago. After you broke up with me. I thought maybe I'd feel close to her, to your sister." Jenna stared. "Why didn't you tell me?" Lauren looked up and her eyes were already full of tears. "I saw something in the water, Jenna. A girl. She looked like you." She smiled at me and said, "You're next." Jenna fell to her knees. It wasn't just guilt, it was a chain. Everyone who ever stood too close. Everyone who ever carried the grief. This thing, this parasite, it fed on, shared secrets, on borrowed guilt, and now it had them both. That night, Jenna dreamed for the first time since the forest. But it wasn't a dream. She was back in the tunnel, except this time, Lauren was in the mirror, bloody, smiling, and behind. The thing fully formed now, woven from every face Jenna had ever known. It spoke in her sister's voice. "You let her die, and now you'll watch them all drown, one by one." Jenna woke up screaming. Lauren was gone. On the bathroom mirror, written in fog, she smiled too. "It doesn't want her. It wants me." The mirror had fogged over on its own. Jenna stared at the message slowly vanishing from the glass. She smiled too. It didn't make sense. Lauren was kind. She never hurt anyone. Not like Jenna. Not like... A sudden crashing noise from the living room shattered the silence. She ran. The front door stood wide open. Curtains fluttered in the windless night. The photo of the mirror, the one with Lauren's face behind the creature, had been pinned to the wall with a kitchen knife and scrawled in something that looked suspiciously like dried blood across the photo's surface. "You brought it back." Jenna grabbed her car keys. She didn't care that it was almost midnight. She didn't care if the road curved in the wrong direction or if the thing followed her through shadows. She needed to find Lauren. But as soon as she stepped outside, she realized something else was wrong. Every car on the street had its mirrors smashed, and all the streetlights were out, except for the one directly in front of her house. Under that sickly yellow beam stood a child. So still he might have been, a statue, but when Jenna stepped closer, his head turned slowly, mechanically. His mouth opened and he whispered in a voice that didn't match his body. "Do you want her to die too?" She froze. Who are you?" But the child just turned and walked into the woods across the road. Jenna followed. The forest felt thicker than it should have been, denser, as if time and space folded tighter with each step. She followed the crunch of the child's feet through the brush, but every time she turned her flashlight on him, he was closer than before, too close, blinking slowly, staring without blinking. Then he stopped and pointed to a clearing. Jenna stepped forward and saw Lauren kneeling in the grass, surrounded by mirrors, shards from smashed car windows, broken hand mirrors, even a bathroom cabinet door. She was murmuring something, repeating it over and over. "Say it or stay forever. Say it or stay forever." Jenna rushed forward and grabbed her shoulders. "Lauren, look at me." Lauren's eyes snapped to hers, but they weren't Lauren's eyes. They were hers, Jenna's. She stumbled back, horrified. Then she looked at the shards around them. All the reflections showed Jenna, not Lauren. Every piece of broken glass reflected only her. Her different faces, screaming, laughing, crying, her childhood, her teen years. Her face twisted in rage, a kaleidoscope of guilt and time and memory. Then every shard blinked at once, and they all smiled. Jenna dragged Lauren away from the clearing. Her skin was ice cold, her voice empty. "I didn't smile," she whispered. "I didn't want to. It made me." "Made you what?" "Remember." Back at the house, Lauren lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling. Jenna, shaking, pulled out her old laptop. She didn't know what she was looking for, only that there had to be some answer, some pattern. She started searching for Lake Worth disappearances, and she found them. 7 cases over 20 years. All the same pattern. A lone hiker disappears in the woods surrounding the lake. No body recovered. Friends report strange behavior. Before they vanished, the final sighting always ends the same way. They looked at me and smiled like someone else. Jenna felt sick. She recognized one of the names, Oliver Grant, the boy she saw get dragged into the floor in the tunnels, and one of the others, Emily Kerrigan, her sister's best friend. She clicked the archived article. Emily had gone missing a week before Jenna's sister drowned, but there was no mention of that at the time, because Jenna didn't tell anyone, because her sister made her promise. Jenna remembered the conversation now. Her sister had come home shaking, pale and trembling. She said Emily disappeared after they went to the woods, and Jenna told her, "Don't say anything. You'll get blamed." The next week, her sister was dead, and Jenna smiled. Not out of joy, but because she'd finally buried the truth. Her laptop screen flickered, all the browser tabs closed, a black window opened on its own. A line typed itself, "Your turn." And then another photo appeared. It was from the roll of film, one she hadn't seen before. Jenna, standing over a small grave in the woods. Smiling, she slammed the laptop shut. Lauren stirred. Her voice was scratchy, distant. "Do you think it's a demon?" Jenna shook her head. "No, worse. Worse than a demon." Jenna looked at her. "It's a knot of grief, regret, memory. It wears the faces of the ones who broke their own hearts, and it follows the people who keep secrets." Lauren swallowed. "Then how do we stop it?" Jenna's eyes filled with tears. "I think we have to undo what we buried." They drove to the woods again. Lauren was quiet the whole ride. Jenna clutched a small box in her lap. Inside was a photo album, the one from their family attic, full of pictures she'd hidden after her sister's death. The ones that showed their last summer together, the ones she couldn't bear to look at. They stopped at the edge of the trail, the same dirt road where Jenna's car had crashed 3 days ago, except this time it wasn't twisted or blood-stained or cracked. It was untouched, as if the accident never happened, as if the entry point never needed the physical crash, only the emotional one. Jenna and Lauren stepped out, and the world changed. Again, they were back in the tunnels. Only now, it wasn't walls of flesh, it was film, long strips of negatives hanging like curtains, flickering with memories, screams echoing in loops, photos stitched into every corner, bleeding light. A voice whispered, "Overhead, tell the truth, or let her drown again." Lauren held Jenna's hand tightly. "Don't let go," she whispered, but Jenna did. The ground opened beneath her. She fell and landed in front of a mirror. Inside, her sister stood, soaking wet, hands trembling. "Why didn't you tell them what happened?" her sister asked. Jenna's lip quivered. "I was scared. You asked me not to. I thought they'd blame you." Her sister's face twisted. "You thought they'd blame you." Jenna collapsed to her knees. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I should have told the truth. I should have." Her sister stepped through the mirror and hugged her. "Then tell it now." She woke up in the clearing. In her lap, the camera, on the ground, the photo album. Lauren was beside her, and in front of them, the ground stirred. A small mound of earth moved. Slowly, carefully. They began to dig. It wasn't a body. It was a box, inside a single roll of film, unlabeled. Jenna didn't need to ask what it was. Emily's the missing roll, the proof that her sister had never killed anyone, that she'd been trying to help. They developed the film the next day, and in those blurry, flickering images, you could see it all. Emily entering the woods, a shadow following her smiling, not from joy, but from possession, and her sister trying to pull her back. She hadn't let Emily drown. She tried to save her, and when she failed, she broke. So did Jenna, and the thing fed on that, fed on silence, secrets, denied grief. Now, the truth was out. That night, Jenna placed every photo, hers, Emily's, her sister's, into a fire pit behind her house. She burned them all one by one. And when the final one curled into ash, she looked at her reflection in the kitchen window. It looked back, for the first time in weeks. It didn't smile, but just as she turned away, the camera, long dead, clicked by itself. A flash, and in the black mirror of the lens, her sister's face, smiling, but not cruelly, not warning, just watching. Not everyone who smiles is alive. Jenna didn't sleep after the fire. She sat on the porch all night, the camera resting beside her like a ticking bomb. Even after she'd burned the photos, even after the reflections smiled that final time, something inside her pulsed with dread. A memory stirred, the locked drawer in the attic. Not the photo box, the other one, the one her mother told her never to open. Lauren was asleep inside. The first real sleep she'd had since her disappearance. Jenna crept upstairs. The attic creaked with age and dust and silence. She found the drawer and broke the rusted lock with a crowbar. Inside was a wooden box, old, carved with strange symbols, jagged, almost childish, like someone trying to imitate language without fully understanding it. She opened it. Inside were dozens of Polaroids. Children, every single one of them smiling, but not normal smiles. Not innocent ones. These smiles were pulled wide, stretched too far, like their faces had been instructed to mimic joy and failed. Some of the photos were labeled with names. One of them said, Jenna, age 3. First smile, caught it just. In time, her blood ran cold. Downstairs, the TV clicked on by itself, static, then an image flickered into view. An old video, shaky, VHS quality, Jenna's mother, filming a young Jenna in the backyard. Say cheese, her mother's voice whispered. From behind the camera, Jenna, no older than 4, stared into the lens and smiled, and behind her, in the bushes, a face, grey, blank, wide-eyed, watching. Lauren screamed from the living room. Jenna ran down the stairs, the box of Polaroids still clutched in her arms. Lauren was standing in front of the mirror again. But now, it wasn't a reflection. It was a room. On the other side, a woman standing motionless, holding something in her hands. Jenna's breath caught. It was her mother, but older, frailer, worn and almost translucent. And in her hands, another Polaroid. She raised it, held it up against the glass. Lauren gasped. It was her, a Polaroid of Lauren, the same stretched, unnatural smile, and across it, scratched in something dark. She smiled first. Jenna reached for the mirror. Her fingertips touched cold glass, then sank through. The surface rippled like water. Without thinking, she stepped inside. She was in a long hallway now, walls lined with frames, photographs from generations past, all smiling. All wrong. She passed images of men in military uniforms, girls at birthday parties, infants in cribs, all bearing that same uncanny expression. None of them looked alive, and on each frame a phrase repeated, "You smiled, so you belong." She reached the end of the hall. Her mother stood in a doorway silhouetted by flickering candlelight. Her voice was a whisper. "Jenna, you never asked why I hated mirrors." Jenna swallowed. "Why?" Her mother turned, "Because I was the first to see it smile back." The room behind her was a shrine, a circular chamber, mirrors on every wall, some cracked, others pulsing faintly like living skin. In the center, a child-sized wooden chair, straps on the arms, faded blood beneath it. Jenna's heart stuttered. You used that?" Her mother looked ashamed. "It wasn't me. It was my mother, and her mother before her. Every time a child smiled the wrong way, we were told it meant it had noticed it, that it had marked us." She pointed to the mirror. "And we had to take the photo, seal the smile, lock it away before it could reach through." Jenna's mouth went dry. "You trapped it in Polaroids." "No." Her mother turned to her, eyes hollow. We trapped us. The sound of something slithering, a long, slick dragging noise. From the mirrors, eyes opened, hundreds, watching. Then a deep voice echoed across the chamber. It spoke in Jenna's own voice. Smile for the truth. Suddenly her body seized. Memories flashed. The car crash, the missing boy, the lake, the photographs, her sister's body floating, the lie that festered for years. And then her reflection stepped out. It smiled, its mouth cracked too wide. Jenna screamed. Her mother whispered, "Take the photo." But the camera was gone. It was in Lauren's hands, back in the real world. Back in the house, Lauren stared at the mirror, watching Jenna inside. The reflection. Jenna was walking closer, the real Jenna screaming behind it. Lauren raised the camera and aimed, but she hesitated. What if she trapped the wrong one? Inside, Jenna turned to her mother. "I don't understand. Why me?" Her mother looked at her, and for a moment, she wasn't old. She wasn't frail. She was young again, beautiful, strong. "You weren't the first, you're just the last. The end of the line. The curse. It thins with you." Jenna choked out. "Then how do I end it?" Her mother reached for her face. "By smiling and meaning it." Jenna's reflection lunged. At the same moment, flash. Lauren took the photo. The mirror exploded outward. Glass everywhere, smoke, screaming, and then silence. Jenna awoke on the floor, bleeding but alone. No mirror, no reflection, just her. Lauren knelt beside her. "Are you?" Jenna smiled, a small, tired, real smile. "Yes." They buried the photos that night, deep in the woods, under a tree that never bloomed. They didn't mark the grave, didn't need to. But as they turned to leave, Lauren stopped. "Wait," she whispered. She knelt and pulled something from the dirt, a photo of herself smiling. But she didn't remember when it was taken, and behind her, the boy from the woods, watching. Some smiles never fade. The photo Lauren found wouldn't burn. She tried everything, matches, lighter fluid even, the fireplace. But each time, the flames bent around it like it wasn't real, like it refused to be destroyed. The image never changed. Her own face, smiling unnaturally, the boy from the woods standing behind her, watching. Lauren couldn't sleep after that. Every time she closed her eyes, she'd see flashes. The lake, the rope, Jenna screaming in the mirror, their mother whispering, "Smile for the truth." It wasn't over. Something had followed her back. They left the house 2 days later, packed everything into Jenna's car and drove until the trees thinned. Out and streetlights returned. They thought maybe distance could kill the curse, but horror doesn't work that way. Some things travel inside you. On the third night, Lauren woke up in the motel room alone. The bathroom light was on, the door half open. She called out, "Jenna?" "No." "Answer." She got up and stepped inside. Jenna stood at the mirror, unmoving, staring at her reflection. It wasn't mimicking her. It was grinning wide, cracked, smiling like it was finally free. Lauren froze. "Jenna." Her sister didn't blink. The reflection opened its mouth and Jenna's voice came out of it from the other side of the glass. "I lied. I never left the mirror. The real Jenna, if there was one, turned her head slowly. Sometimes. The reflection is all that survives." Lauren ran out of the bathroom, into the hallway. Barefoot, breath ragged, the lights in the motel flickered. She turned a corner and froze. The hallway stretched too far. Impossible, endless. And along the walls, Polaroids, hundreds, all different people, all smiling the same twisted way, and in every photo, standing just behind them, the boy from the woods, sometimes younger, sometimes older, but always him, watching. At the end of the hallway stood a mirror, not a motel mirror, not even glass. It looked like a living surface, pulsing faintly. From behind it, something whispered, she smiled. So she belongs. Lauren screamed and threw the photo into the dark. It vanished mid-air, like it had never existed. Suddenly, hands gripped her shoulders. She turned. Jenna, eyes wide, real, bleeding. "I got out," she gasped, "but part of me didn't." Lauren sobbed, hugging her. "What do we do?" Jenna whispered. "We finish it." They drove back, all the way home, back to the woods, back to where it started. The tree was still there, the one they buried the photos under. Jenna carried the last Polaroid, the one that wouldn't burn. Lauren carried the camera. "I think," Jenna whispered, "we have to trap it, but this time, willingly." Lauren stared. "What are you saying?" Jenna's eyes filled with tears. "I have to go back." Lauren refused, screamed, begged, but Jenna only smiled. Soft, human. "I've been part of this longer than you know. That day at the lake, I lied about the rope. I lied about falling. I wanted you to look away. I wanted to see if it would come for me. Instead of you." Lauren's face crumpled. "Why?" Jenna's voice cracked. "Because I saw it years before you did, and I didn't say anything. I smiled, and kept smiling." She raised the photo. I let it in. They returned to the mirror chamber in the woods. Jenna stepped inside. One final time, the eyes opened along the walls again. The voice spoke, low and ancient. One smile for one silence. Jenna stood tall. "Then take me." The mirror pulled her in. Lauren watched as her sister disappeared into the shimmer. The Polaroid in her hand changed. Jenna now stood inside it, still smiling. But it was real, peaceful. She was gone, truly. And the photo, he felt still. Lauren buried it beneath the tree, alone now, but something told her it was over. Years passed. Lauren never saw a mirror the same way again. She moved to a small town, became a photographer of landscapes, never people. She avoided reflections until the day someone mailed her a letter with no return address. Inside, a single Polaroid of her smiling, alone. But behind her, in the woods, a boy, watching. Final line. The smile was perfect, because she'd finally forgotten what was standing behind her, the end.